GPT 5.5 just dropped, and it's the biggest model OpenAI has shipped since the original GPT-5 launched back in August of last year. If you've been hearing the hype, but you don't actually know what changed, what it can do, or whether it's worth paying for, this video is going to break it all down. I've spent the last 2 weeks running this thing through everything I could throw at it: coding, design work, business automation, content creation. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what GPT 5.5 is, how it stacks up against the older models, and the real use cases that are going to save you hours every single week. Let's get into it. So first, the basics. GPT 5.5 was released by OpenAI on April 23rd, 2026. It dropped in 3 flavors, which matters because they each do different things. You've got GPT 5.5 Standard, which is the main model most people are using inside ChatGPT. Then there's GPT 5.5 Pro, which thinks longer and uses more horsepower for harder problems. And about 2 weeks after launch, OpenAI dropped GPT 5.5 Instant, which replaced the older GPT 5.3 Instant as the new default model for ChatGPT. That last one is important because if you're a free user or a plus user just opening ChatGPT, you're already using GPT 5.5 Instant whether you knew it or not. So this isn't just a pro tier upgrade, it's the new baseline. Now let's talk about what's actually different. The headline number is Terminal Bench 2.0. GPT 5.5 scored 82.7% on it, which is a state-of-the-art result. Terminal Bench tests how well a model can run real command line workflows on its own without a human babysitting it. For comparison, Claude Opus 4.7 scored 69.4% on the same test. That's a 13-point lead, which in benchmark world is enormous. So if you're doing anything agentic, meaning you're letting the AI run multi-step tasks on its own, GPT 5.5 is now the model to beat. The other big jump is on long horizon coding tasks. We're talking jobs that would take a human engineer roughly 20 hours to complete. GPT 5.5 hit 73.1% on that, up from GPT 5.4's 68.5%. In plain English, this model can hold its focus on giant projects without losing the thread halfway through. That used to be the biggest weakness of every previous GPT model. You'd give it a complex task, it would do great for the first few steps, then get confused or completely forget what it was supposed to be building. That problem is mostly gone now. The third thing that impressed me is the token efficiency. GPT 5.5 uses about 72% fewer output tokens than Claude Opus 4.7 on equivalent coding tasks. Less tokens means faster responses, lower API costs, and less wading through walls of text to find the answer you actually need. The context window also got bumped up. GPT 5.5 supports up to 1 million tokens of context in the API and 400,000 tokens inside Codex. That means you can dump entire code bases, full books, or hundreds of documents into a single conversation, and the model will actually remember all of it. One last technical thing. The instant version reduced hallucinations by 52.5% on high-stakes prompts compared to the older GPT 5.3 Instant. That's in domains like medicine, law, and finance where being wrong has real consequences. Okay, that's the foundation. Now let's get into the use cases. Let's start with coding because that's where this model genuinely shines. If you're building websites or apps, GPT 5.5 is now legitimately better than what most senior developers can ship in the same amount of time on routine work. The single best workflow I've found is using GPT 5.5 inside Codex for end-to-end agentic coding. You describe what you want to build in plain English, and the model plans the architecture, writes the files, runs the tests, catches its own errors, and iterates until it works. I built a full Stripe integrated landing page in about 22 minutes with no human intervention except clicking deploy at the end. Where GPT 5.5 really pulls ahead is debugging across multiple files. If you've got a bug that touches 3 different services, you can hand the entire repo to the model and it will trace the issue all the way through. Older models would get lost. This one doesn't. For people who own websites and want to make them faster or fix core web vitals issues, this is huge. You can drop your entire site code into GPT 5.5 and ask it to identify everything that's slowing your page down, then have it write the fixes. Things that would have cost you $500 to $2,000 from a freelance dev are now a 30-minute conversation. Now, real talk for a second. If you own a website and you're watching this video, you probably already know that fast pages and clean code are only half the battle. The other half is getting traffic. You can have the prettiest, fastest site on the internet and still get 0 visitors if Google doesn't trust you yet. That's where backlink management.io comes in. It's literally on autopilot. It uses ChatGPT's newest model, GPT 5.5, to write articles that don't read like AI slop. Then it posts them automatically and builds backlinks to your site every single day. So while you're using GPT 5.5 to build the actual website, backlinkmanagement.io is using the same model to grow it. You don't write articles, you don't do outreach, you don't manage anything. You just wake up and your site has more traffic than it did yesterday. If you own an e-com store, a SaaS, a blog, or any kind of website, link is in the description. Okay, back to use cases. The next big area is design, and this is where GPT 5.5 surprised me the most. Versal's CEO has publicly called the GPT-5 series the best front-end AI for both aesthetic sense and code quality. With 5.5, that gap got even wider. The model now has a noticeably better feel for spacing, typography, color theory, and visual hierarchy. The use case that's blowing my mind is design to code conversion. You can take a screenshot of any landing page on the internet, paste it into GPT 5.5, and tell it to rebuild the design in your tech stack of choice. React with Tailwind, plain HTML, whatever you're using. The output is shockingly close to the original on the first try. If you're a designer, this is also a game changer for client work. You can take a Figma screenshot and have GPT 5.5 generate all the variations a client might ask for. Different color palettes, different typography pairings, different layout structures. What used to take half a day of design exploration is now 15 minutes of prompts. For people who don't have any design background at all, you can describe the kind of brand vibe you want, and GPT 5.5 will generate full design systems for you. Color tokens, font stacks, spacing scales, button states, the whole thing. Then it will export it as actual code you can drop into your project. The next use case is research and analysis, probably the highest ROI use case if you do any kind of knowledge work for a living. The 1 million token context window means you can drop in 30 PDFs, an entire transcript library, or every email in a thread, and ask it to find patterns across all of it. If you're a marketer trying to understand a competitor, you can scrape every page on their site, dump it into GPT 5.5, and ask it to map out their entire funnel, their positioning, their pricing logic, and their content strategy. What used to take a junior analyst 3 days now takes you 20 minutes. Next use case, operating other software. This is the agentic stuff OpenAI has been pushing hard. GPT 5.5 is now good enough that you can give it a task that requires it to navigate other tools, and it will actually finish the job, like booking flights across multiple sites and putting together a full itinerary, or extracting data from spreadsheets, reformatting it, and uploading it somewhere else. For small business owners, this is huge for ops work. Things like reconciling invoices, updating customer records, or generating reports from raw data. If you're paying a virtual assistant $800 a month to do data entry, you might genuinely be able to replace half of that with GPT 5.5 plus some basic prompting. Next use case is content creation, which I know a lot of you watching are interested in. The biggest improvement here isn't writing quality, although that did get better. It's the model's ability to understand brand voice consistently across long pieces of content. If you give GPT 5.5 3 examples of your existing content, it can match your tone, your sentence rhythm, your vocabulary choices, and your structural quirks across thousands of words without drifting. The older models would start strong, then morph back into generic AI voice halfway through. This one holds the voice the whole way. For YouTubers, the use case I've been loving is full video script generation from a 30-second voice memo. I just talk into my phone for half a minute, dump the transcript into GPT 5.5, and it gives me a 4,000-word script in my exact voice. For e-com store owners, this is a complete game changer for product descriptions and email sequences. Yeah, you can train it on your existing brand voice and then have it write 50 product descriptions in one session that all feel cohesive. Speaking of content, this is actually how backlink management.io uses GPT 5.5 under the hood. The platform takes the newest version of ChatGPT, plugs it into its system, and writes daily articles for your site that are legitimately indistinguishable from human written content. Then it builds backlinks to those articles and to your other key pages every single day. If you're watching this video, you're probably interested in coding, AI, or design. You probably own at least one website. You want that site to grow, right? You want more eyeballs, more customers, more sales. Backlinkmanagement.io does the part of the growth equation that nobody actually wants to do, the boring, repetitive content and link building work, and does it on autopilot daily using the same GPT 5.5 model we're talking about. Link in the description. Next use case is something I think is underrated. Learning new skills. GPT 5.5 is the best tutor I've ever used. The reason is the long context window and the reduced hallucinations. You can give it an entire textbook, ask it to teach you the concepts in order, quiz you, and adapt to where you're getting confused. For people learning to code, this is wild. You can say, I'm a complete beginner. I want to learn React in 30 days. It will build you a full curriculum, give you projects, review your code, and adjust the difficulty as you progress. It's basically a private tutor that costs $20 a month. For people learning design, you can show it your work and have it give you brutal, honest feedback grounded in actual design principles. I've gotten better feedback from GPT 5.5 on my design work than from most paid courses. Next use case, spreadsheets and data analysis. GPT 5.5 can now operate spreadsheets directly, meaning you can hand it a messy CSV with 10,000 rows and ask it to clean the data, deduplicate the entries, run pivot tables, and visualize the results. On the AIME 2025 Math Benchmark, GPT 5.5 instance scored 81.2% compared to the older model's 65.4%. That kind of improvement matters when you're asking it to do real financial calculations or statistical analysis. For e-com store owners, the use case I love is taking 12 months of order data and asking the model to find patterns, which products are seasonal, which SKUs have the highest LTV. The model will surface insights you'd never find manually. Now let's talk about where this model still falls short. Every YouTuber out there is hyping every new model like it's the second coming, and I think it's important to be honest. GPT 5.5 still struggles with niche programming languages like Rust, Go, and Elixir. The output gets noticeably less polished than mainstream stacks like Python or JavaScript. It's also not great at pure conversational debugging when there's no code execution environment. The model is built for agentic loops where it can actually run code and see the results. If you're just chatting with it about why your code isn't working, the older Claude models often give better one-shot answers. Image generation also hasn't caught up to dedicated image models. If you need images for your content, GPT 5.5 is fine, but it's not going to beat Midjourney. Use the right tool for the job. Now, the question everyone wants me to answer, is it worth it? Here's my honest take. If you're already paying for ChatGPT Plus or Pro, you're already getting GPT 5.5. There's nothing to do. You just keep using ChatGPT and the model under the hood is better than it was a month ago. If you're a free user, you now have access to GPT 5.5 instant by default. That's a meaningful upgrade from what you had before, no money required. If you're a developer or a power user building anything serious, the Pro plan is worth it for the extended thinking version. The $200 a month price tag stings, but if you're doing agentic coding or complex research work, the Pro version is genuinely a different tier of capability. If you're using the API for production apps, GPT 5.5 is probably the model you want for agentic workflows specifically. The token efficiency alone will save you money compared to Claude Opus 4.7. The bigger picture is that we're now firmly in the era of AI that can do work for you, not just talk about doing work. GPT 5.5 isn't a chatbot upgrade, it's the first model where you can hand off real multi-step jobs and actually trust the output without checking every step. That's the line between AI as a fancy autocomplete and AI as a genuine collaborator. We've crossed it. If this video helped you, smash the like button. If you want more breakdowns of new AI models as they drop, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment with the use case you're most excited to try first because I read every single one. And one more time, if you own any kind of website and you want it to grow without doing the boring SEO grind yourself, backlinkmanagement.to is the link in the description. It uses GPT 5.5 to write articles that don't read like AI, post them to your site, and builds backlinks daily on autopilot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.